If you just started earning out of money, I know that by now you probably realize that it doesn't go as far as you thought it would. Or maybe you're just wondering how you can start building real wealth that everybody is talking about with the little salary or the little money that you have. If that's you, then this video is for you. I basically would be sharing how I was able to start building wealth from my little salary right off my first job. When I first started my first job, I thought I had hit the jackpot. Basically, because I went from being a broke student who had no source of income, I had to rely on handouts from my parents, who was also have the responsibilities of my younger siblings. So if I needed the basic thing, I had to wait for a handout. If I wanted anything basically in my life, I had to wait for handout. And then I got my first job, which started paying me what I thought was a huge salary. I had imagined all the things I wanted to buy or I would be able to buy from that salary. But then it hits me one month. Um, my salary got delayed, and then I realized I literally went into broke zone. I realized I was living from paycheck to paycheck, and that money wasn't as large as I thought it would. Basically, because of inflation, the prices of things are literally 2xing, 4xing. And if you live like a country like my Nigeria, I think we've seen a lot of 10xing in some things. So the little money that you have basically, or the money that you think is a lot of money, probably does not go as far as you think it would. You might end up seeing that you're going from paycheck to paycheck. But in the course of a couple of years, I think about 1 or 2 years, I was able to, I would say, 20x that particular amount of money. And currently, I don't even think about my salary like before the end of the month. It just comes in, and I've been able to build a system that keeps me in track and is helping me towards the journey of building real wealth. Right now, I'm not literally claiming that I'm rich, rich, or I'm wealthy, I have a vault of money somewhere. I'm basically just saying that I've left the phase of that survivor where I have to literally wait for my salary before I could do anything. And if my salary was delayed, I would literally go into broke zone. So I would say a phase where I don't have to crack my head too much to do basic stuff or buy basic things for myself. And first things first, when someone tells me that they don't think they have enough money or they don't know where their money goes, um, either one of those two things, there are two things I usually say to them. So it's either one, you're not making enough money, or two, you're spending too much money. So I would first of all talk about the first one. If you feel like you're not making enough money, and when I say enough money, I mean if the money you're currently earning in your job, in your business, or whatever is giving you money is not enough for you to actually afford basic things, your needs. I use the word needs and not wants. So needs are necessities. They are things that you need to basically get by in life. Maybe your rent, food, things you can't do without. Rent, food, maybe basic personal care, deodorants, basic stuff that you need in your life, necessities, things that you basically cannot do without. If the money you're currently earning cannot get you by up to the end of the month to afford those things, when I say those things, I mean your needs and not your wants. I'm not talking about a luxury bag or a luxury shoe or whatever is not so important at that point in time. If that money can't get you there, like can't get you those basic stuff, then you're probably not earning enough money. And the first thing you should do is to make more money, because you can't save or you can't invest, you can't build out of something you don't have. You need to make more money. And that was the phase that I was in about a year and a half ago. I wasn't making enough money. That money wasn't really enough because of the inflation. It was a large sum of money to someone in school then, because I felt like it was so much money. But then when I started spending and pay rent, pay this bill and that bill, I found out that that money wasn't enough to even get me to the end of the month. I was literally scraping by. So what I did was find ways to make more money. So how can you make more money? So the first thing is you must invest in yourself. Yes, you must invest in yourself. And when I say invest, you don't necessarily need to spend money. Half the things I was able to upskill, half of the things I learned, I didn't have to pay any course. I didn't have to do any exaberrant, buy any exaberant course or whatever. I got those resources off YouTube. So you can learn a skill. I would be biased towards digital skills because that's what I learned. learn a digital skill. You can learn any kind of skill, because I say digital skill because digital skills are in demand. Things like copywriting, marketing, data analytics. You can basically become a freelancer. There are platforms like Upwork or Pfizer. I think Fiverr, yeah, Fiverr, and other platforms where you can actually use those skills that you learn. And you might not need to learn a new skill. You probably have a skill that you use in your job. You can decide to freelance with that skill. If you already work in marketing, probably you just need to up it a little bit with what is more in demand, and use that skill to get freelance roles or provide services for individuals who can't afford to hire someone like a full staff to do that work for them. So the first thing is to invest in yourself, learn as much as you can to um become more valuable in the marketplace, because many of the times you're being paid what you are worth. I know some companies might want to take advantage of their employees or whatever. What you're worth in the sense that if you have a skill that is saturated, like everybody knows how to do that. Let's say you're a office assistant and all you do is just basic admin work, filing paper. That's is a saturated skill. Many people would know how to do that. So that skill is not as valuable as maybe someone who built app or whatever. I would use AI as an example. Currently, there are lots. The AI is literally a booming. Would I call it industry? Yeah, that's a skill that is mostly in demand right now because of the new revolution of technology. So if you're someone that is looking that doesn't even know any skill to learn, I would say yeah, nowadays there are a lot of content creators or content creation using AI. You can learn things like AI automation, and all these resources to learn these things are basically on YouTube. If you are interested in any of those things, you can drop it in the comments, and I would try my best to make a video that talks about any one of those things as far as I have the knowledge for any of those fields. So that's the first thing you must do: increase your income. And then when you increase your income, you can now start saving or investing. So the first thing you must learn how to do is pay yourself first. I know it's pretty obvious. It seems like, oh, I pay myself, but I'm going to explain what I mean by pay yourself. Pay yourself meaning pay your future self. Start saving, start investing money for your future self. Because it's very common, it's very easy. At some point, I just thought I was working for my landlord and vendor, supermarkets, light bills, and every other kind of bill that you come to pay. Because at the end of the month, you just find out that you've probably spent so much money, and maybe you bought yourself one shoe or you bought yourself a bag or whatever. That's not really paying yourself, because you need money for your future self. Your future self needs a lot of money. The life that you dream about, that you've um, visualized, you can't do that without paying yourself first. Paying yourself meaning that when you have your income coming at let's say at the beginning of the month or the end of the month, whenever you're being paid, you have to pick a particular set amount for yourself, whatever amount you've decided on. I'll be talking about how you get to pick that amount for yourself and keep it in an account. Have it automated. You can have it automated so you'll be able to um track it. Like you don't have to do it yourself, like make the decision of transferring your money into a separate account or whatever. Just decide the set amount that you want to pay yourself every month, and then automate it. There are a lot of apps that you can use, a lot of platforms you can use. Here in Nigeria, there's Piggyvest, where you can basically automate, have it linked to your checking account, whatever account you receive your income in, let's say your salary. You can link those two accounts together. Where when you're setting it up, there's a way you can link your card or your bank account to it. So at the end of the month or a particular set time that you fix, that particular amount you've decided on will be deducted out of your account. That way you're not stressing over, let me pay my rent, let me pay this, let me pay that, before whatever is left I would save. That system is not sustainable at all, because it's very easy. Things happen in the middle of the month. You might have something came up, and it might be something you can say no to at that point if you don't have the money. But just because you have the money, you might just sacrifice your savings for it. So it's easier for you to automate this, so you don't have to um rack your head about transferring. I haven't transferred my savings, or I haven't sent my savings to my savings account or whatever. It's best you use an automated system. That way it becomes an habit, something that just happens on its own, instead of you racking your head about it. So learn to pay yourself first. That is the number one rule. Number two is track your money budget. It's very easy for your money to develop. Your money can be very, very independent, to develop a mind of its own and decide, you know what, I want to do what I want. And that's if you let it. If you don't control your money, if you don't track your money would go away and you'll be wondering, where's my money? Where did my money go? So it's very, very important that you track your money. And one method that I use is I have a budget for my needs. So at the beginning I talked about your needs, basic things that they are recurring. You must spend on them. Things like your rent, things like food, things like transport. They are non-negotiables for sure. For you to survive and live a proper, comfortable life, you must pay for them. Those are the things that you track. You might decide to have a notebook, maybe want to write. I use a spreadsheet because I work with spreadsheets a lot, like in my work. So I just find spreadsheets very easy to use. So I write down everything that I spend on at the end of it. This is not a time for you to judge yourself and say, oh, it might be a time for you to judge yourself though, because when at the end of the month, when you track that, you might say, oh, I didn't know I was spending this much on groceries. Why am I spending this much on groceries? It's just better that set amount to know, are you cutting down on any of them, or are you giving yourself a thumbs up that you're doing well? So how do you track it? You write down every single thing that you spend in the month. You decide, you do it for, because you might have an average. Have to have an average, because to get the real amount, because there are months where you might spend more, spend less. In a month where you probably had people come over, you maybe you hosted friends or whatever, your grocery amount might be your grocery amount might be more. So you have to be able to know this. Okay, with tracking it, you're able to know, this is the reason I spent more than what I would usually spend on groceries, because this happened, or I ate out more in March, so that's the reason why I have more. It's just good for you to be able to know where your money is going, why it's going, what each dollar, each naira, each whatever currency is basically doing for you, and the reason why they left the way they left. So you have to write that down and know the set amount. I spend this amount for rent, I spend this amount for transport, I set this amount. You do it for like 3 months and then you do an average and know this is the set amount. So now you know that amount, you accumulate it to whatever that amount is. I know that is the money that you need to live a comfortable life, a normal life each month. So when you have that, you then now apply a rule that people call, that is called the 50-30-20 rule. So the 50-30-20 rule is basically 50 goes for your needs, 30 goes for your wants, 20 goes for your savings or investment. So this is subjective. It's a rule, but it's subjective. Subjective based on how much you earn. If you earn so much money, and let's say like $10,000, and you're living somewhere that's not so expensive, your rent isn't even up to 3K. Let's say you pay rent of 2,000 monthly. I'm using dollar and naira interchangeably, depending on who's watching this. And sometimes I use let's say if you're in Nigeria, your monthly rent here in Nigeria we pay annually. Some places pay, I think I pay monthly. So you can calculate that your um set amount for rent. Let's say if you pay annually, you can divide it by each month. I know this is the amount for rent, and then set it aside that it's your rent money. So if you're earning a huge amount of money, let's say a lot of money, and it's unrealistic for you to use 50% of that money to do basic needs like eat, pay rent, transportation, then that 50-30 rule might not apply to you. Yours might be 20-40-40. I think that's what I currently run on. No, 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 no. I think I don't do much of once, because currently I have goals that I'm saving for. So it's I think I spend about, I'm just going to use my needs that I'm sure of currently here. I use about 20, 30 something percent on my, I think it's about 28% on my needs for basic stuff that for sure I have to pay for. I have to send money to friends, I have to send money to family or whatever. So have that set amount that is your needs money. have that set amount that is your needs money. I just talked about sending money to friends and family. If it's a non-negotiable, like it's an obligation. Like here in Nigeria, we have like what we call black tax, money that you must not must, but it's just an obligation for you to send to your family. You can add that as money, and if they really need that money, you can add that as money for your needs. But it really depends on you. If you just want to calculate only money that you use on a day-to-day basis, then you can have that set amount and know that that is your needs money. You can share it 20, 40, 40. It's whatever, it's subjective. Ensure that at least you follow the rule. And one thing I basically do that has made life a lot easier for me and I've had peace is I have different accounts for different things. I have a grocery card. I have a grocery amount because it's not easy tracking. I went out, I bought, why is my money less than what it should be? What did I buy? And then you forgot that you went to the grocery store and bought eggs, or you bought milk, or you had to buy parfait or whatever. So it's good that you have a grocery money. You have all your money has a grocery card, basically a grocery account. All your money has a specific place where they are. So when my money comes in, I share it into different accounts. I have a savings account, I have an investment account, I have an account for grocery. I have a card called grocery card. If I'm going out to get grocery, I don't take any other card. I use my grocery card. So it gives me the freedom to spend. If it really depends, if you have like a set amount for the month, you can divide it by a couple months for, let's say, groceries. You can then divide it by the weeks that's how frequent you go grocery shopping. So you can track how much you're spending on food. If let's say at the middle of the month you're auditing, you're checking your account and saying your grocery account and saying that, oh, I have less than what I should have, then you can know, oh, problem eating out too much, or I've spent a little bit too much money. It's just good you have everything that you spend in different accounts. Not the reason why I'm using groceries is because groceries is where you swipe your card a lot. When you pay your rent at the beginning of the month, you've paid. When you pay for maybe you buy your self-care deodorant or whatever, you've done that. If you're paying for transportation, you can have the transportation money separate in a different account. Just have a card for different things basically. Opening accounts are not so difficult. You can basically open different platforms nowadays just from the comfort of your home. There are a lot of fintech companies where you can just have a specific card, a specific account where you send money for a specific thing that you pay for. So you don't have to rack your head about it, and it just gives you the freedom to spend how you want to spend. So the next thing is building an emergency fund. Emergency fund is basically what it is. It's an emergency fund. In case life happens, you have a safety net. You don't have to be worried. And I would personally say, since when I had my emergency fund set up, I have had peace. I'm not worried about what's going to happen. If whatever is going to happen, I know at least I have 6 months of money somewhere that's going to save me basically until I get my shit together. So emergency fund is money that you use, that you save up and you keep in case something happens. Things like maybe you lose your job, or emergency comes in, like a medical emergency, and you have to stop working or whatever. You have that money to um, pay for basic stuff, to continue living your life without any going broke or any kind of obstruction or whatever. And it really depends on you. Depends on how the amount of freedom you want. Some people, it's actually recommended 3 to 6 months, but you can go as far as 1 year or 2 years just to be on the safe side or whatever. I like to have my peace of mind. I cherish my peace. So I do between 6 to 12 months. Really depends on you. So that's the first thing you must, before you start talking about saving for a goal or investing in whatever. The first thing you must do is you have your emergency fund, so you are safe in case life happens. So how do you build your emergency fund? So I talked about that set amount you have for your wants. Let's say you concluded that that amount is $500 per month. That's the amount that are non-negotiable you must spend on every month. So 500 times 6 months, let's say you're doing the 6 months rule, is 3,000. So that 20% that you're saving, or whatever percent you decided you'll be saving every month, should first go into an account that is called your emergency fund account. and try your best to meet the goal of, give yourself a, let's say, a 6 month goal or whatever amount. If you're earning more, it might take you a shorter time to hit your emergency fund goal. If you're earning less, it might take you a longer time, or if you're saving less, it might take you a longer time. But the first things first is have your emergency fund set up for 6 months, for 12 months, for 3 months. Really depends on you. But the least period of time should be 3 months. At least you have 3 months. If, let's say, for instance, you lose your job or whatever, it might take you 3 months to get a new one or to get yourself back together. So it's best that you have at least 3 months of emergency fund saved up in an account. And this is where I will talk about high yield savings account. I personally do not use um, traditional accounts as much. My traditional account is basically just my checking account, like where I receive my income or whatever. But money doesn't really stay there as like I'm saving, because there's inflation. You can agree with me that what's 1,000 naira could buy a couple years ago, it's not what it currently can buy. Like even a couple months ago, I'm going too far. A couple months ago, inflation is really high. The economy worldwide. So if your money is just sitting idle, if you're keeping your money in a regular bank account, you wouldn't get more interest. I know traditional bank accounts have things called fixed deposits where they give you a amount. I don't know what percentage it is. I personally know how they fixed income account or fixed deposit account, but the money isn't as much as you would get if you use a high yield savings account. There are lots of ones. I use PiggyVest. I talked about PiggyVest here as an example at the beginning. Some of these accounts, some of these platforms pay as high as 18, 20%, but you must do your research. PiggyVest is the one here in Nigeria. Do your research and find out that they are backed by the government. They have insurance for your money just in case something happens. Because there's a lot of risk in life. Investing, savings, everything basically is a risk. That does not mean that you sit on your hands and decide to do nothing. So just make sure that whatever platform you are using to keep your money, to save your money, is backed by the government. They are legal. They know what they are doing basically. So some of these platforms pay 18%, they pay 10, they pay 12%, and different percentage. Basically depends on what account you are using. And this percentage of your money is money that you probably would have not gotten if it was just sitting in a bank account. That extra money that comes, that extra 18%, extra 10% that comes in, it's money you didn't have before. So no matter how little it is, it's money you didn't have before. At least you're sure that your money is working as you are working. It's like your money is also working for you. Yeah, that's what it is. So try out high yield savings accounts and utilize that, saving your emergency fund or whatever. Because it's an emergency fund, maybe when you're done saving it, you can then now decide to put in a fixed deposit account with the traditional bank if you feel like traditional banks are safer. But then everything in life is risky. So you just do your research and it's really dependent on you. So that's the first thing. The second thing is once you're done saving your emergency fund, you then have to now start exploring other sorts of savings, other sorts of investment. So if you have a goal, there are other kinds of savings outside your emergency fund. If you have a goal, let's say you want to travel, or you decide you want to take the year off to travel, you decide you want to take the year off to go back to school or whatever, you might have a set amount that you need. So you can start saving that amount as soon as your emergency fund is complete. I have accounts for different things. I have account for, let's say, my different goals. So you can have a open a different account as a travel account. I have it automated that as soon as you're done with your emergency fund, you open the account for that. So that's fixed amount of money goes into that account you've set up for that goal. So that is in terms of saving. I don't really save as much. I only save for my specific goal, let's say a goal to travel or whatever, and my emergency fund. And the rest of them basically would go into investment. Investment is the real way, at least it's so far in history, investment is the surest way to build wealth as opposed to saving. Savings will not give you as much as investment would. But as a first time, someone who is, if you're watching this video, I'm pretty sure maybe it's your first time going into the world of investments, the most safest, the most risk free, not risk free, there's risk in everything, but the one with the less risk is mutual funds or ETFs. So what are ETFs? They're like a basket of major companies. One I would recommend is, or that I personally use is the S&P 500. I think it's the also the one that Warren Buffett, one of the richest men in the world, like invested consistently that actually made him a billionaire. So if I don't know if I'm wrong, but I think that's correct. So the S&P 500 is like a combination of the stocks of um 500 companies in the world. Oh, in the United States, S&P 500, United States. The reason why the United States, because the United States is like one of the strongest economy, and like the standard of exchange, US dollar is the standard of exchange for every other currency worldwide. So it's pretty known that the economy of the United States is very strong, and the companies there are doing very well. So when you buy a share of a company, it's basically like whatever the company is working for you, you are a shareholder. No matter how little you have, you're a shareholder of that company. If that company is doing well, let's say Apple really just released the latest iPhone 17. Like I think they did a couple weeks ago or so. Yeah, and they made so much money. Their value in the market has increased. It means if you're invested in them, it means that your money too would increase. But there's also risk to it. If something happens, let's say people lose interest in iPhones, and you're a shareholder in there, your money, the value of your money with them would also reduce. It's just like you giving what shares are is like you giving the company your money to do business and whatever. And if they make profits or they increase their revenue or whatever for a period of time, that share price would also increase. So that is the risk with shares. That's why ETFs are so much better because ETFs are a combination of 500. I think the top 500 companies in the United States. I mean, I'm talking about S&P 500, but that's what ETFs are. They're a combination of different companies, a basket of companies. But the S&P 500 is companies in the United States. Let's say something happens with Apple, and Apple is part of that 500. But it's if something happens with Apple, let's say the price of their shares go down, Apple is just one company out of 500 companies. It doesn't mean that because something happened with Apple, you're going to lose all your money or whatever. From history, I don't think the entire fight, except something happens like maybe an alien invasion or whatever, that would drastically like take down the economy of the world of the United States as we know it. So no matter what happens, the entire 500 companies, because it's companies of different industries. We have transportation industry, we have e-commerce like Amazon, we have all sorts of industries within that 500 companies. So it's not just a group or let's say technology and something happens with technology and all your money is gone. No, it's less is the best place for you to start as a beginner because it's less risky. It also has a sure income. At least with history, we've heard it's had a sure income of increase of 7 to 10%. So whatever you have invested, whatever amount you buy, you are sure that you will have about 7 to 10% coming. Might be seven, might be 10. It really depends. Really, in that range depends on how the companies do in that year. So ETFs are the best way to go as a beginner. There are lots of platforms where you can get it fractional. Fractional in the sense that it might be very expensive if your economy is not in the US dollars or you don't earn so much like earn in dollars basically. Yeah, platforms like in Nigeria there's Bamboo, I think there's Trove, there's Chaka, where you can get them fractional, meaning you can use the least amount of money to buy it as a fraction, like buy little pieces of it. So as we come to the end of this video, one last thing I would like to say is as much as possible, avoid debt, avoid lifestyle inflation. Lifestyle inflation, very common, very popular. As you upskill, as you learn more, as you earn more money, because as you're going in life, you're basically going to earn more money. You're going to leave one job and go for a more high paying one. You're going to start this side hustle, this side business. The best thing you can basically do is to avoid lifestyle inflation. Lifestyle inflation is just because you have this, you literally got this raise or this promotion does not mean that you have to move to a more expensive part of town or you have to move to a more expensive house or you have to basically change your life entirely, increase your budget on luxury bags or whatever. Not to say that luxury bags or luxury items are bad, but everything has timing. If you increase your income with every increase in you increase your basically with going to it will just seem like a rat race to you. Yeah, there's no time that you basically just feel at peace. It seems like you always have to get more money. It puts you under so much pressure because you feel like the money that you just made, time you should be relaxing and not having to rack your head about money. You'll be thinking about, oh, I have to pay this more expensive rent. You should get to a point where your rent isn't a problem at all. If you're still if you're still living in a rented apartment, it shouldn't be a problem because your, let's say, 1 month of your salary can basically pay your entire year rent. That's the point that you know that you're financially free. So financial freedom is, if it's subjective. It's not about buying luxury cars or luxury bags. None of those things are bad, but it's about freedom. It's about peace. It's about you being able to have enough money to leave a bad job, to um not worry about rent, because just being free to do what you want to do, be able to travel, be able to afford basic stuff without racking your head. So if you put yourself under the pressure of always changing your lifestyle, increasing your lifestyle as you increase your income, it will seem like no money is ever going to be enough for you. You can increase your lifestyle. The thing about increasing lifestyle, what I've noticed is it comes automatically. There's a kind of money you start earning that you would automatically, the places you would shop would be different, the kind of clothes you will buy would be different. It's not something that you must do like, oh, because I have this extra money, this extra bonus or whatever commission, so right now I'm moving to a new house, I'm getting a penthouse or whatever. It's just, it comes naturally. You can increase your lifestyle as comfortable as it is for you, but not at every income, because that extra money, that extra 1K, that extra 2K, it's better it's in the stock market working for you than used to buy something. That the thing about things that we buy is, in a couple of months, in a couple of weeks, that thing is going to be like, you wouldn't even look at it much. You might carry your bag, carry it everywhere, but at some point it should just be, just look at your life. There are things that were so much of a big deal. Let's say, what this that one iPhone that you were eyeing or whatever that you wanted to buy, and you bought it, and now you're just, it's just the phone. Also, avoid debt as much as possible, because it's very, very easy to get into that vicious circle of debt, especially when you earn money. It's literally easy for you to say, oh, after all, I can pay when I get paid or whatever. Not every buy now, pay later is a good deal. Not every buy one get I think buy one get two, get one free is a good deal. If you can't afford it at that particular time, that is not a deal. That is literally a sacrifice of your savings or whatever you plan to use that money for. So as much as possible, avoid debt. It's a very vicious circle. I'm talking from experience. Borrowing and then looking for how to pay that. You might have to go borrow. If something goes wrong, you might have to borrow to pay that debt. It's not worth the stress. It is not worth the stress. If it's not a good debt, I actually have a no debt rule. I don't borrow anything basically for any reason. Let's not even get started on interest rates. It can be crazy. The longer your debt runs, you have to pay interest, basically your interest. That compounding interest, the magic of compounding interest that should work on building your money would work the other way around, and your interest keeps increasing, and you have to pay a huge sum of money on one amount of money that you borrowed. So as much as possible, early in your life, early parts of your life, basically, try your best to avoid any sort of debt, except very, very necessary. Except very, very, I don't know what situation I can call right now that is very, very necessary. I know there are two different kinds of debt. There's good debt, that's basically debts that businesses take just to leverage, to probably leverage on building their business or whatever. But if you don't have a business and it's not a really, really large business, so you show up the revenue, I do not recommend debt. I personally would not take any debt whatsoever. So that's the final thing. So these are basically just the steps that I'm taking to build my wealth for how long I've been working, that I've been earning adult money basically to build my wealth. The practical steps that I've seen people take over and over the years, and that have helped them to build real wealth out of their income. So if you feel like this was useful, if you feel like this is helpful, if you have any other tips or tricks that you're using, you can basically just drop it in the comments. And if you like videos like this, videos on navigating life in your 20s, um, it would be really great for you to subscribe to the channel. I post videos like this all the time. It's not just videos about money. I post videos on basically everything that I've experienced while trying to figure out my life in my 20s. Lessons I've learned from books, from life lessons. I share them on this channel. So subscribe and don't forget to like this video, share it to someone you think needs to see it. And I would see you in the next one. Bye.